Hello there. Welcome to yet another episode of Velocity by Hawky.ai. My guest today is AJ Wilcox. AJ founded B2 LinkedIn team back when picking one ad channel was considered agency death wish. And ever since, he has seen more than $150 million of ad spends across various of LinkedIn ad accounts and hosts a podcast called LinkedIn Ad Show and also has wrote LinkedIn Ads Demystified. And I think by honestly, by any measure, he's one of the most concentrated authority with respect to single ad channel in B2B marketing space. Nobody else has that kind of a rep count. And welcome to the show, AJ. Happy to have you here.
Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me, Surrender.
Sure. Thanks a lot, AJ. So, our guests, our participants are predominantly B2C performance marketeers who are also getting started with LinkedIn as a channel and who are primarily focusing on Meta, Google, and LinkedIn, TikTok kind of channels itself, particularly in performance marketing. And I think, of course, everyone who have ever run LinkedIn ad and would want to improve their skills would have known you, but maybe for our audience, maybe a 30-second introduction about yourself in terms of what you stand for and what is something that you do. That will be great, and we'll go deep dive into the discussion.
Sure thing. Well, I started out in search engine optimization and I made my way into Google Ads because I was tired of SEO taking 6 months to show my results. And then I stumbled onto LinkedIn ads when I realized that it was like Google. I could get results very quickly, but I could focus my targeting on those who are my ideal, absolute best customer, as opposed to those who are looking for something. I just instantly fell in love when my sales team came over and just said, AJ, we love your LinkedIn leads. We're cherry picking them, keep sending them. And at a previous company, I ended up growing that to become LinkedIn's largest spending account worldwide. But wow, why is no one else talking about this channel? It's absolutely amazing. And so now it's been over 11 years. I've had the agency 100% focused on just LinkedIn ads, and it's just getting more and more exciting.
Yeah, for sure, AJ. You have, I mean, going into some of the questions I wanted to understand about your thoughts that you have shared publicly, right? I think recently, with respect to LinkedIn ads, you have said that conversation ads probably not working that great, and you asked them to people to pause that immediately and go back to the message ads, right? And I think currently. I think, as you mentioned, there are just around 36% fewer opens with respect to the message ads. What's really causing this? Is it because of maybe a lot of tools that are coming in, or like the ability to create conversational ads becoming easier, and so on and so forth? Is it being overused? What do you think is going on behind? In case anything changed in the last 6 months or so after you said spoke about that, maybe yeah, let us know about that.
Yeah, well, the short answer is I don't know. I've been working with LinkedIn's product team and their engineering team trying to figure out why. And so, to give a little bit of background context here, we've got two different ad formats that share the same auction. On both of them, we pay to send a message to someone's LinkedIn inbox. You have the message ads that were much simpler and they only have one call to action button. The actions that you do on them can't be retargeted. And so a couple of years ago, we totally moved over to conversation ads because every action is retargetable, which is amazing. And then they're also a lot more flexible. We can have more than one call to action. Well, here about 6 months ago, we figured out that, well, we didn't really figure it out. We were like, why can't we get the open rate over about 35%? Message ads, we used to get open rates over 55% all the time. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board and said, let's try launching some of these message ads again. And sure enough, open rate was higher. So it doesn't seem like a big deal to have your open rate be, a 20% difference. But what that equated to is a cost per lead that was like half of what it was from conversation ads. And we went, okay, we can't use conversation ads anymore if they just can't perform. So LinkedIn, they swear there's nothing different, nothing wrong. But from our perspective, we know that if you're running both side by side, which we do, you have conversation ads and message ads, both with the same sender, an identical subject line. There is no reason why they should have a difference in their open rate. And so it looks like a glitch to me right now, honestly. Eventually, we're going to go back to conversation ads when LinkedIn figures out how to fix it. But for right now, we've gone all the way back to message ads to capture that extra. It's 36% more opens, which means
More
36%
opens.
more clicks, which means for the same price, 36% more conversions. Why wouldn't you want that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think around the same time, you also spoke about thought leader ads working significantly better in terms of engagement, right? So, I mean, while that's something I think most people would agree, right? And but honestly, the fact is still a lot of or most of the ads are being run as a company page ads as default itself, right? So, if at all thought leader ads, especially in personal ads, profiles are working well, why wouldn't companies totally flip it out and do that? And why would someone run a lot of company page level ads? Is there any reason for that, AJ? Like, what's your current take?
There is, and there's a really good reason. The good reason is these thought leader ads, they're very inexpensive, really high engagement, but the problem with them is they're very inflexible.
Okay.
The only ways that we can pay by the impression or by the engagement. Whereas when
Hmm.
we send traffic to a landing page that has a lead form, we want to be able to use the website visits objective to
Mm.
only pay for people who are going to the landing page. Right now, you pay for every single, a like, a comment, a see more, all of those. You're paying. It's a little bit,
Right.
but that
Mm.
little bit all adds up. We also a lot of our clients use the LinkedIn lead gen forms, the
Mm.
native built-in lead
Yeah.
forms, because they have such a high conversion rate. But you can't
Mm.
use thought leader ads with those. So our current strategy, we lead to cold audiences with this personal content, with these thought leader ads, and then retarget anyone who engages with them. With now they're starting to see company page ads, and that seems to be working really well. But I would love it in the future if LinkedIn lets us run thought leader ads on website visits and the lead generation objective, making them a lot more flexible. That's what I'm hoping for Christmas this year.
Sure. Got it, AJ. Now going back to like your early days of starting this agency. So why did you stop only with LinkedIn as a channel? Why didn't you scale? Like, especially now, I mean, of course, Google Ads have been one of the popular channels for B2B as well. And I think even Meta is growing as one of the leading channels in the B2B space as well. So, but yeah, why did you restrict yourself to LinkedIn? And looking back, do you think that was a good decision, or would you want to change that?
Yeah, I think it was a great decision. Early on, my biggest fear was if I dedicate my entire company to just LinkedIn ads when most people didn't know LinkedIn ads existed, would there be enough of a market to support my family? And that was my
Mm.
biggest fear. And I gave myself like a 7 month runway where I said, okay, if I'm not making back my previous salary within 7 months, I'm just going to go and get another job. But
Mm.
my whole life, what I've focused on is what can I do that I could be the best in the world at? And so for me, it was a really easy choice. It was like, if I'm 100% focused on this one channel that no one else is, I know I can get ahead and I know I can deeply
Yeah.
specialize. Whereas if I were to just start just another Google Ads agency or an SEO agency, those were skills that I used really heavily in my early career. But there were so many people who did that, it would
Yeah.
have been so hard to stand out. But as being the very first LinkedIn ads only agency, it was really easy for people to say, oh, AJ Wilcox, yeah, he's the LinkedIn ads guy. And it's really helped me be able to stand out.
Got it. Got it, AJ. Now, with a lot of these AI agents coming up and tools coming up, which is trying to automate some of the bidding process, some of the content process, and so on and so forth. Does your specialization still hold true, or do you want to, let's say, still specialize more into LinkedIn, or is there any plans in terms of diversifying as well, AJ?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick to LinkedIn ads for sure. I don't know how long LinkedIn ads management will be a thing because AI seems to be getting really, really good at what it's doing. But I do think we're staying on the forefront of AI. We're paying attention to what's going on. We're working on our own tools, trying to make things more efficient internally. So as long as it's a thing, we're going to be doing it.
Got it. That's great. That's great to keep sticking on to one thing that you're doing and probably be the best in the world about it, right? I think even if the AI wants to learn, it's going to come to you to learn. So I think that's great. That's great strategy. But now let's say, I mean, just one practical question, right? So say tomorrow, marketing leader DMs you, maybe someone at a Series B SaaS stage and 20 million ARR and maybe somewhere around 300 CPL and so on, but their pipeline isn't converting. So this is sort of a stage that we are talking about, it. Is there a set of questions, or if there's any first three or four things that you sort of ask before you start giving any advice or thinking through in terms of direction?
Yeah, there are a few things that we can check without even having to ask questions. I just know that most people make these mistakes on LinkedIn. The
Okay.
very first is LinkedIn has a default set when you create the targeting around an ad set. It's a box called audience expansion, and they enable it by default. If you leave it on, you're going to wonder why you're getting leads that are not high quality. They're not from your targeting set. My first piece of advice is go and uncheck that box. Then a little bit lower, LinkedIn is auto checking a box called the LinkedIn Audience Network.
Network.
And
Yeah.
this sounds really good in theory. And when people leave it checked, it looks like there's good performance because they see low cost per click, high click through rates. But when you
Mm,
actually analyze the traffic, a lot of it is fake. It's spam, it's fraud traffic.
mm,
And
mm,
so one of the best things you can do is turn that off, and
mhm.
your top end metrics will look worse, but then you'll actually see real people seeing your ads, which is a lot better.
Relevant, more
Yeah.
relevant people.
Yeah. And then when you get down to the bidding section, LinkedIn will start you out bidding what they call
Auto.
maximum delivery. And that's the most expensive way to pay for traffic on LinkedIn. If you flip that to the hidden option called manual cost per click bidding and bid significantly less than what LinkedIn's recommending, you can
Mm,
get but just by doing these three things, you'll get your costs way lower, probably half of what your competitor's paying. You'll make sure that all of your clicks are from your ICP, your absolute ideal customer, and it's real traffic, it's real humans. And I think if you start with that, no matter what industry, no matter what type of company, immediately you're going to see a performance increase.
got it, Ajay. With LinkedIn, the retargeting has always been sort of a mystery, right? I mean, it sort of at times cannibalizes your own funnel as well. So, what are the best practices for retargeting on LinkedIn ads, AJ?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked because LinkedIn's retargeting is some of the most powerful retargeting of any platform I've come across. Um, the the original one, the website visits retargeting, that's the same as everyone else's, and it's reliant on a cookie staying in someone's browser. We know, more than 50% of the users out there are using a browser that as soon as they leave a page, it throws the cookie away. Using the website visits retargeting is kind of like trying to carry water in a leaky bucket. It's just you're not going to get much to where you want it. But they have this other type of retargeting called
Mm,
engagement retargeting, and this is
mm,
amazing. This is things like who's visited your company page in the last 180 days, who's watched at least 25% of one of your video ads, who's engaged with one of your documents or engaged with one of your single image ads. And what's beautiful about this is by the time someone sees one of these ads or is doing this experience, they're logged in, so LinkedIn knows exactly who they are. So there's no cookie
yeah,
needed to remember who they are. LinkedIn just keeps a
yeah,
log of like, oh, this person visited this page or clicked on this ad. And so I can go today, create a retargeting audience and say, anyone who's watched 25% of my video ads in the last 180 days, and LinkedIn will go back and say, oh yeah, we remember everyone who did that action. So I love LinkedIn's engagement retargeting. So then we also understand like the whole point of retargeting is if we go to a cold audience and we show them an ad that says, click here to get a demo, talk to someone, buy something, get a free trial, those very bottom of funnel kinds of
yeah,
calls to action that we could give,
sure.
we're going to see really poor performance. People I mean, they're voting. They're saying, sorry, I don't know who you are yet. Like, I don't know, like, and trust you. I'm not ready to take that step. So that's why
Mm,
retargeting is so valuable. We find that
mm,
once someone is on their third touch with your brand, that's when they're the most likely to convert at the lowest cost. And so to
Mm.
get someone to where they've had 3 touches with your brand, obviously you need retargeting for that. So what we do, we create a 3-stage funnel where the first stage, that's your cold audiences.
Okay.
And we use those audiences to create retargeting. So anytime someone engages with that, they then get passed to a second stage of the funnel. And then the same thing, when they interact with something at the second stage of the funnel, they're now being retargeted in the third stage. So if you do that without excluding properly, you're going to end up with the same person in 3 stages. And now your campaigns, your ad sets are competing with each other. And you're going to find that your
That's
bottom of
fair.
funnel, yeah, you're not getting any traffic. So what we do is when our stage 1 of the funnel, our top of funnel, when it builds an audience, we immediately exclude that audience. Then at the same time, when they get to, when they engage with, when we build an audience from the second stage of the funnel, they are immediately excluded from the second stage. So now
Mm.
people are being graduated from one stage of the funnel to the other. And then you don't end up with any of that cannibalization.
Got it. Got it, Heji. And with respect to I think so far, $150 million dollars of ad spends is pretty huge. Can you take us through one expensive mistake that you have probably personally made on any of these accounts, and any learning from that, AJ? For someone at your level, would love to hear what kind of mistakes do you make?
For sure. And I've probably made every mistake there is to make.
Sure.
We actually recently passed 200 million. So it's hard to keep track
Wow.
of all the past spend. So we don't do this study very often, but yeah,
Okay.
I think I can say some of the most expensive mistakes that we've made deal with some of the things I told you, like these are our checklists of things to undo. For example, for a while, I told people don't use LinkedIn's audience network because the traffic doesn't convert. That was my only clue, is like, oh, if it's not converting, we probably shouldn't use it. LinkedIn's product team came to me and they said, AJ, we think the audience network is amazing and we want to work with you. Like, let's figure out, like, we want to prove to you that this traffic works great. So I said, okay, let's work together on it. And so we found a client who was willing to dedicate a large chunk of their budget. We were going to get really good data out of it. And what we found was, kind of embarrassingly, 1 month, 67% of our budget went to a single Sudoku app on Android. Now, nothing against Android. I'm a huge Android fan, but I know that one Sudoku app should not be spending all of our budget. And what that tells me is the developer of that was committing fraud. As someone is playing the game, they're
Mm.
behind the screen, they're serving up the ad and then creating a simulated click on it. And I would sure hope that LinkedIn is catching stuff like this and shutting people down and saying, we never want these people being able to interact with our ads again. We don't want them taking our budget. But even still, like, because the fact that this happens, I went, sorry, I can't recommend the audience network to anyone unless LinkedIn really fixes the traffic.
Mm.
But to that point, we've had really good luck, really good success with the audience network when we apply a really strict block or allow list. So what we
Okay.
do is we block it. So we say, we only want you seeing our ads if you're on the Wall Street Journal, Business
Mm.
Insider, those
Sure.
kinds of really high quality news sites. Then that's when we use it and it works well.
So now, will you still recommend to use the audience network, or for anyone who is probably, let's say, doing from scratch on their own, would you still recommend or not?
Possibly, but with a very small portion of the budget.
Okay.
What I would usually say is take all of your budget and give it to LinkedIn. And only when you are like, wow, we have more budget, we'd like to spend more on LinkedIn, that's when I would say, all
Mm.
right, let's create a version of these
Mm.
ad sets that is just for the audience network and use that as like an expansion rather than
Mm.
the first place that you deploy that.
Primary one. Got it. Got it, Ajay. I think you have been very vocal about wasted ad spends on LinkedIn. Can you walk us through that a little bit in terms of more, let's say, whether it is tactical in nature, or targeting, bidding, creative, or something else entirely, Ajay?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to bidding and targeting for the most part. One thing, I'm entirely performance focused. That's how I've been a marketer my entire career. And when I see people who I audit their accounts and they're paying $20 to $40 per click on average, I've seen them paying CPMs up to $10,000 CPM.
Wow. Okay.
When I see them targeting an ABM list, for instance, like a list of just specific companies, but they've left audience expansion turned on, so we're hitting people in different companies than that. When I see these things, it hurts my heart. I look at it and go, like, as a marketer, we shouldn't be seeing this.
Yeah.
And it really is LinkedIn's default options that they leave on that are causing marketers who don't know what they're doing to waste so much money. So that's why I've really focused around, like, yeah, if you come to us as an agency, you're going to pay us, and that's a real cost. But what are you going to get for that? Well, generally, we're going to save you more than half of what you would have paid without us, just because LinkedIn's options, just because we're really meticulous in the way that we adjust our bidding. We're constantly making adjustments up, down to make sure we're getting our clients the very lowest costs. That's the way we've found to say, yes, we do cost money, but you're going to save more on your ads. So, it's kind of like getting the best in the business for free is what I tell people on the podcast.
Got it. Got it, Ajay. Now, I think a lot of the ad platforms, be it Meta, Google, TikTok, and so on, have moved on totally to sort of a creative-based targeting as a structure, right? I think LinkedIn, I think targeting still works, but what is is our creatives becoming more important? Is creative-based targeting becoming a thing in LinkedIn yet or not?
I think LinkedIn is trying to make it a thing, but it's not yet. And I think the reason why is for your creative to do the targeting, there's a lot of AI and a lot of machine learning involved, which requires a lot of site usage. Now, LinkedIn
That's
is
right.
huge. There's nothing, they're not doing anything wrong. But we also know that LinkedIn is not the platform that everyone goes and spends
Yes,
all day
that's right.
on, like they are on TikTok. So
That's right.
that means that LinkedIn is limited in the data that they have and the number of touch points they have with each person. So I think LinkedIn, that's the direction they're going. They're looking at Google and Meta and saying, we're going to be like that if we
Mm.
can, but it's going to be a little while until they get enough of those signals. So I'm predicting probably another 3 to 4 years, and then LinkedIn will probably get there. But right now, we target the way that we target because it's,
That
there's no
works.
other platform on the planet that we can
Yeah,
use to hit our exact ICP, and
that's
it's
right.
working great. So we're going to keep doing it until LinkedIn takes that away from us.
Sure, got it. Now, when it comes to creatives, what works well on a Meta or TikTok is exactly something that doesn't work well on LinkedIn, like something like a punchy hooks or a UGC or humor and so on. Is that changing? Are you seeing that changing? And also, what is your creative playbook? So let's say what are the type of creatives that you use for different objectives, be it image, single image versus video versus document versus thought leaders and so on? How do you rank with respect to the ROI, AJ? What's your go-to
Yeah.
format and how do you stack rank it?
Yeah, it's really interesting because B2B advertisers, and that's the vast majority of advertisers on LinkedIn, for a long time, they've been kind of boring. And I won't say kind of, they've been very, very boring. We think as marketers, like when you're over on Facebook and TikTok, you have a personality and you think things are funny. But as soon as you come to LinkedIn, your tie is on and your shirt's all buttoned up and you've got a suit on. And that's not how we are as humans.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I love as brands are starting to branch out and realize that humans on LinkedIn, they love comedy. They love things that are funny. They love things that are witty. They like hooks. What they don't like is clickbait. So if you're going to try clickbait on LinkedIn and disappoint a user, be aware you're probably going to ruin that relationship and with someone who is really high quality. So I wouldn't recommend that. So that's what I'm thinking is like, yeah, in the past, we've thought about this is the creative for LinkedIn and this is the creative for TikTok, but try blending those. We had an experience. We've partnered with a video company called Video Brothers. And what they specialize in is making really witty and funny videos for B. And that was like, we've ran 5 accounts with their creative in it, and all 5 have been the highest performing video content we've ever seen. Some of the lowest costs per of anything, and we love it. And so that was what taught me creativity really does pay off. Even though the majority of our clients, if you asked them, I think they would say like, "Oh, we need to be very professional on LinkedIn. We need to to abide by all of our brand guidelines. And I try to convince them, like, no, ignore that. Like, ignore brand guidelines just for a test. Just see what's possible here.
Got it. Are you able to convince them?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Ultimately, what the client wants, like, we're going to give them. That's what they're the ones paying our check. But if they'll listen, I will try to convince them of, like, for
Got it.
instance, if you run video ads, it's really easy to say all creative in the video needs to abide by company guidelines. We've got, they have to be these colors and these fonts and all that. But we've found that if you have your subtitles, your captions on the video, if it's bright colors that stands out on LinkedIn, you can get twice as many people to view to the end as if you use your own company guidelines. So I try to say, like, let's test going off script a little bit and see, because if you can get twice as many people to watch your video, you're going to end up with half the cost per click, half the cost per
Yep.
conversion. That can make a huge deal.
That's right. That's right. What about your thoughts about founder-led ads, or like where the founders appear?
Yeah, I love it when we can get the executive team, the founder, involved in creating video ads, because those are by far the highest performing ads.
Mm.
If you don't have access to your founder, that's okay. Like, we still see really good performance from your head of product and your head of customer support and sales and marketing. But when you can get your executive team involved, people love that. That's a viewpoint that they just can't get anywhere else. And it's
Yeah,
totally worth it.
got it. And if you have to maybe compare or choose one between founder-led ads versus a witty and funny ad, what would be your go-to option?
I think I would say both. If I had to choose, I'd probably say witty, because I think if you have a funny creative,
Hmm.
people will associate those good feelings with a brand, which is exactly what's so easy to do when you're associating good feelings with a person. So
Person
yeah, I think it's more scalable to be able to do something that's funny.
to be able
But
to.
ideally you use both and get to test both.
Got it. And with respect to the media formats like images versus videos, document ads, thought leader ads, what would be your stack list?
Yeah, awesome question. I would say at the top of the funnel, video. So in your, what I call my stage one or my stage two, your first two touches, video is so powerful. But in the third stage, I find that static is actually better.
Hmm.
So ideally, my stage one is going to be video thought leader ads from your executive team, from leadership, someone else internally. The second stage, probably going to be video representing the brand if you can, and then some other static assets. But by stage three, we're going to be all static. So we're going to be looking at single image ads and also message ads.
Mm.
They tend to perform really well when you're trying to invite someone for a demo,
Yeah,
a call of some kind. Message ads seem to be the strongest ad format for that.
got it. Got it. Cool. That's great. Now with AI coming into picture, right? So, I mean, I think you also mentioned about probably the interaction of LinkedIn, or let's say the people who is spending time on LinkedIn is small. That also is directly correlating to the size of the audience that's there in LinkedIn compared to maybe a Meta or Google. Probably this is tiny, right? Now, your creatives can probably get burned through within a couple of weeks or three, depending upon the size of the audience that you are sort of targeting. How is AI changing that? In a sense, like having more creatives, is it being really helpful in getting a better ROI of your ad budget or not?
A good question. Surprisingly not. And the reason for that is because LinkedIn users only come back, the average user checks in like 3 or 4 times per month. So because of that, if they see the same creative a couple times, they don't get sick of it like they do after the 30th time they've seen it on Meta. So what we've
Mm,
actually found is if you can't refresh your creative as often, LinkedIn is actually kinder to you. Like, we can usually run ads for a month, sometimes a month and a half before we start to see declining performance. Whereas when we run stuff for ourselves on Meta, like if we don't refresh our ads weekly, they get stale very, very fast. So I would say and also LinkedIn's not very good at managing lots of creatives in a single ad set. So
mm.
If we run 2 ads, like an A/B test in an ad set, that's generally enough. If we add 3, 4, 5, 7 creatives in an ad set, LinkedIn doesn't rotate them very well, and there's no setting that you can click that will do it any
But I
better.
think they are recommending to use more than five to get the best performance, right?
Yeah,
That's what it is, yeah.
yeah, that's what they recommend, and they have reasons for recommending that make their auction more competitive.
Yes.
But yeah, if you put 7 creatives in an ad set, just watch and see what happens as you run it. You're gonna have one that takes 70% of the impressions, one that takes 25, and then the other 5 creatives will all share the last 5% of impressions, and
Wow.
they won't
Okay.
run. So
Okay.
I hate creating creative that never got enough impressions to even see if it was a good performer or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it, AJ. And is LinkedIn algo capable of sniffing AI content? Is it something like, are you seeing any drastic difference between AI content versus original content? Is that related to audience engagement or even with respect to the scale or the LinkedIn distribution?
We haven't seen LinkedIn say anything to advertisers about whether their ad content is AI created. So we've run some stuff that was AI created, some that wasn't. And what we found is I think people are really good at telling what's AI created and what's not, at least right now. And so we find AI created content isn't performing as well, at least the written content. So what we really like is to have AI help with the ideas around copy, but it's still a human putting the finishing, final
Yeah. Yeah.
touches and polish on it. And then the user, like, they couldn't tell that it's AI. So I think
Mm.
that's the right way to go. For
Mm.
visuals, I haven't tested a whole lot of visual creative that's AI created. I'm sure I know it's getting better, but I haven't ever used a prompt to create an image that a client said, "Oh yeah, that looks good. Let's run that." Like, it's never happened. So as it gets better, I think we'll get a little
Got
bit
it.
better of a feeling. But we know LinkedIn is watching for AI created content on the organic side. I just think
Right.
that when you're willing to pay
Yeah.
them for clicks, they're like, "Okay, yeah, we don't care, but we'll turn your account off if you're, or we'll give you less reach if we can tell what you're doing on the organic side is AI created."
Got it, AJ. But yes, I mean, small note about the creatives looking maybe not really original, the AI creatives. Maybe I think you should try Hawky once and the creatives that are extremely performance marketing optimized for these platforms. We support it primarily on Meta and Google. They're also starting with LinkedIn. Would love to sort of
Cool.
show that to you.
I would love to test it out. That'd be so much fun.
Sure. So now let's say you mentioned like maybe 3 or 4 years for LinkedIn to probably completely implement creative based targeting, right? So they are already testing it out right now. Now, with that also coming into picture, and a lot of media buying skills as well, maybe are getting more efficient with the help of AI. Probably the likes of you and your team who are leading the game itself might not see a lot of difference, but I think the bottom 95% people are already able to see media buying getting automated significantly in majority of the channels, including LinkedIn. How is the skill sets importance are changing, AJ? What are the type of, are you starting to hire for any new type of skill sets, or your hiring has remained unchanged? You sort of like look for the same set of people that you were looking for maybe 3 years back or 4 years back.
Yeah, I think we're still hiring for the same kind of person, but obviously, like, I can teach them AI skills and I can teach them other things. I just need to make sure that they are willing to learn and that they're sharp and
That's right.
curious and ask questions. What we find is AI is getting a lot better at the kinds of tasks that we want it to help us with. For instance, a year ago, I tried to see if I could get AI to create reports for me and interpret the data, and it did a terrible job. I mean, it was just bad, bad, bad. But here, even just a month ago, I did it again, and AI still not great at interpreting the data, but what it's really good at is understanding how to process the data. And so the majority of our client reporting is now done, through AI building a Python workflow. So maybe you don't call it entirely AI, but it's pretty cool that
Yeah.
the AI built that. We're also seeing, just like you've talked about with creative, I think that's a no-brainer to test out is having the visuals and the copy at least helped with AI, maybe even created by, to see if we can get that off of the advertiser's shoulders. Then I think the next
That's right.
frontier is going to be the actual ads management. Can we
Mm.
have AI go into an account and pause certain things when they perform poorly? Or can it launch something new, a new ad set, change targeting? I think we're going to see that here pretty soon too.
Got it. Got it, Ajay. Have you been also trying to implement any more like AI augmented workflows internally to sort of probably automate some of the mundane tasks? I think you mentioned about the client reporting, but apart from that, have you started using any AI native workflows internally, Ajay? Do you push your team to uh, constantly look out for such things, or how is it?
Yeah, I try to get the team to always look for things like ways that they can use AI to make their workflow faster. The reporting was the easiest implementation of that. We also process a lot of lists. Clients will send us lists of companies that we call ABM lists, or they'll send contact lists that they want to either target or exclude in their campaigns. That used to be a lot of manual, like paste in Excel and move columns around and stuff like that. AI does that great. The challenge is that there's a lot of personally identifiable information in there. So we have used AI built on a local model on my PC to do it all offline, which has been
Mm.
great. So I think that's like one cool way that we've augmented our work with AI. And of course, we just keep looking for more.
Got it, AJ. I think for someone who is following marketing, my feed is filled with posts where it asks me to comment to get be it cloud workflows or AI workflows and so on and so forth. What's your take on that piece of lead generation? Is that something that you have done it? Has it worked, or is it just engagement farming? Like, what is your take there, AJ?
Yeah, it is something that I like a lot. I have when I look in my news feed, I see a lot of people who are pushing against it and calling that low quality. They call it engagement farming, and they say I'll never do that. But one of the most successful ways that we distributed, we came up with this new advanced guide for LinkedIn ads, and we released it for free. But before we released it on the website, behind a form, I gave it away for free in a post, and we had over 1,000 people request it. And
Great.
I know if I put that on the website behind a form and put a post up, there's no way I would have gotten 1,000 conversions out of that, with no ad spend. So it worked so well for us. But I'm also really careful about people's experience with us. Like, I never want them to feel directly sold to. Like, I tell
Hmm.
people on the sales call, you're not getting a sales pitch from me unless you ask for it. So that's the experience that we cultivate. So when they ask for an asset, we give them the asset, and it's free, and hopefully it's everything that we told them that it was going to be. So I think if you approach it in a quality way, I think it's probably still going to be successful. But again, just always, always, always avoid bait and switch. No one wants to give their information for
Yeah.
something and then feel like they got bamboozled.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. What is the are these leads who you have probably who have commented on these posts, right? Like, are they really converting? Like, is that something? I mean, let's say if they are coming to your website and maybe reading your case studies or maybe downloading your report, then probably they have searched for you and then they have landed up over there. But this was more like a just an engaging post, probably due to fear of missing out. They have commented to just get it. So even I myself have probably commented on a lot of places, but I never, maybe I would have read it or used maybe one or two of it, maybe out of the 10 posts that I have commented. On those lines, is that something that is efficient with respect to the quality of the list as well as the intent of that list, AJ?
I think if we were to just go directly to that list and try to sell them on something, I don't think we would see performance from that. The way we handled it is I had 1,000 people request this guide when this has been a couple of years ago, but 1,000 people requested it. 600 of them were not my connections already, which means that we needed to be connected, which means now I'm connected to 600 new people who are all interested in LinkedIn ads that weren't
That's right.
before, or that I wasn't aware of before. So now every time I post this, there's this new 600 person audience who is going to be interested in the content and is much more likely to see it. And so I
That's right.
call that a complete win. That was like build the audience with people who are a good fit. And of course, we pulled those profiles, and then now whenever we retarget on LinkedIn, that's a default audience that we can make sure to include in our list. So no, I'm not going to hit them with a sales pitch yet, but I do want them seeing our content. I do want them really loving our thought leadership. And what we see is if you give enough, eventually when people are in the market and they need help, they're going to come to you. And we see
That's
that quite a bit.
That's great. That's great. But even if those 1,000 people, I mean, let's say you added 600 new people in your account in your profile, but that's not the case that whoever is probably following you is going to see your content, right? Like, think the content distribution is probably extremely disconnected with the followership that you have. Maybe a very small chunk of your followership will even get to see your post. I think the impressions being extremely low for certain posts show that there is not a direct correlation always. There might be correlation, but not always. How have you seen that play out for you? Have you tried a way to figure out how to reach maximum of your followers?
I'm always trying to work with my content and try to get more viewership on it for sure. But there's
Right,
also not a whole lot of control that we get other than as soon as we start running them as ads, which we do
right.
occasionally for
Yeah,
testing. So
sure.
the best thing that we've done, like, sure, someone's a connection. They have commented on a post, so they're sending a signal to LinkedIn that they're interested in my content. Then we're connected. Then I'm sending them a message to give them the content in their personal messages. So that's three
Yeah,
signals to LinkedIn that
that's
they
right.
are
Okay,
interested in my content. That
okay.
increases the ability, or at least it should increase the likelihood that LinkedIn's going to show them my content in the future. Of course, it
That's right.
doesn't guarantee it, but hey, I'll
Yeah.
take any sort of increases over time I can build.
Sure. Got it. Got it, Vijay. Now, let's try to speak a little bit about how the future of B2B paid media is going to look like, right? So I think now a lot of these research is happening on Chat GPTs, Perplexities, Geminis of the world than on Google at any point of time. I mean, compared to at any given point in time. Now, has there been a direct correlation, or let's say maybe any kind of behavioral change that you have seen in LinkedIn ads reaction with respect to how the AI agent research has changed as well?
I think a lot of people are doing research with AI, and they're able to research so much more than they could have otherwise. And so I've seen some of these reports where I go, wow, that's a really
Yeah,
complete strategic report. That's great.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
the implementation of that is still very difficult. It's still time
Mm,
consuming, still takes a lot of human brain power and human time. So I haven't seen any sort of convergence yet where everyone's starting
okay.
to sound the same, just because we now have better data at our fingertips. I don't discount the fact that that could happen, but I also know that as soon as something stops working, people abandon it pretty quickly. Styles
Mm,
and attempts and tests all come into vogue and then leave as well. So I think
mm.
as long as we as marketers, we're paying attention to like this tactic, people, it just doesn't work anymore. People aren't reliant on it. Let's move on and let's try something new. I think that's okay. I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
Got it. Got it. Uh, But with a lot of these new channels popping up, I think LinkedIn CPMs are increasing, and on the at the same time, you have new channels that are coming up which are able to give you more high intent leads to you, right? Like be it your ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity and so on, where people are actually researching something about their work, and you sort of pop up and you sort of, let's say, uh, get a lead out of that. So now how do you see this? Like, when one side you have your LinkedIn ads pricing increase, and on the other side you see new channels which are probably at times even more efficient are coming up. How do you see the future of LinkedIn ads, especially from a pricing standpoint and CPM standpoint?
Yeah, I love the question. LinkedIn has always competed against the search channels. It used to be mostly organic Google and paid Google, but now we're
Yes,
seeing the AI models are sending a lot of intent based traffic, and that's
exactly.
great. The challenge that you get with intent based traffic is you're targeting someone by what it is that they're looking for, but not who
Yeah.
they are. LinkedIn's exactly the opposite. We can target someone by who they are. Like,
Mm,
yes, this is the exact makeup that would make the highest quality client for us. but I have
Mm,
no control over what it is that they're looking for right now. So the absolute best is a blend of the two. If LinkedIn could
mm,
get into the search game and we could target someone by their intent plus they fit our ICP, that would be amazing.
mm,
But
mm.
right now, I don't see those. I think both are amazing. I would always say, yes, if you're running LinkedIn ads, you should also be running Google ads as well, because they hold hands, they play so well
Yeah.
together, and that's great. I don't see them ever cannibalizing each other. But where
Mm,
LinkedIn's getting more exciting, it's always been an expensive channel. Even from the day that they launched it, they had a $2 per click minimum, and
mm.
you were getting Google traffic for $1 and you were getting Meta traffic for
Sure.
fractions of a cent. LinkedIn has always been expensive. But what they've done really well in the last few years is this focus on measurement. Yes, you're paying a
Mm,
lot for our traffic, but
mm.
look how that traffic is how it's turning into sales, how it's turning into pipeline. And they released a report called the Revenue Attribution Report. Not
Yeah.
everyone can get access to it because it only works with
Okay.
like 3 CRMs. But what you're able to see with it is like, hey, when a closed deal happens, how many ads, many of our organic posts, how many engagements came from someone at that company, where you can see like, oh,
Mm,
LinkedIn didn't get credit for this deal through, through direct UTM parameters, but,
mm.
30 paid clicks came. We know that LinkedIn had some kind of an effect on that deal. So
Got it.
focus on the measurement, on seeing what's actually happening because of the traffic. And I think LinkedIn's going to keep looking better, even if the pricing goes up.
That's great. What do you think is going to drastically change with uh, the competition with the AI agents coming up? How do you see LinkedIn ads changing the next 4 years, 4 to 5 years, maybe?
I wish I knew. Honestly, that's such a good question, but I'm not a very good futurist myself.
Okay.
What I feel like is I think every part of the ads building journey and the account management, everything that is done right now by a human that is monotonous and
Yeah.
non-strategic, I think we're going to see AI be able to do that in the future. But how fast it happens, how it happens, boy, I'll be the first one to be watching from the front row and try to participate in it however I can.
Sure. I think if I'm not wrong, it's been more than a year when Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that uh, ad management and ad creation is going to be extremely sort of easy moving forward to an extent. You just plug in your bank account and you say what your product is, and everything is going to be automated. I mean, do you think that kind of a moment is going to come for LinkedIn? And if so, like, yeah, what do you think will be remaining for the brand or for a marketeer?
Yeah, I don't think this is coming for LinkedIn anytime soon. I think maybe in the next 3 to 4 years. That kind of a format works really well for Meta because they have so much user data. They understand human behavior so well. And so they really can, like, if you give it creative, it can say, all right, well, I'm going to test showing this to 1,000 different kinds of people and learn from it. LinkedIn doesn't have the same kind of user generated data because people don't spend as much time on LinkedIn. And
Mm,
so I think LinkedIn would love to get there. I know their data scientists are top notch, but I think it's going to be a little while until they can follow suit.
got it. Got it, AJ. A very fast round of questions, maybe to end the session, AJ. I'll maybe ask around 5 questions for maybe where you can spend around 30 seconds to respond on that. Right. So, are, are you someone who reads a book or a thinker? And how have you learned marketing yourself?
Mostly through podcasts. I don't enjoy reading. It's one of those things like I hate picking up a book to read, but I love
Sure.
audiobooks and I love listening to podcasts. I would call myself more of a thinker, except any chance I get, my headphones are on and I'm learning something from an audiobook or from a podcast. So I'd probably say somewhere in the middle.
It. Where do you see B2B paid dollar is going right now that you wish should have come to LinkedIn ads?
I think CTV, connected TV ads, is a really exciting place for LinkedIn right now. You can go to a CTV provider and buy certain kinds of demographics of traffic, but LinkedIn, for what doesn't appear to be more money, I think it's about the same kinds of CPMs. We're able to use LinkedIn's targeting to reach people on their TVs, busy
Mm,
executives, And that's really exciting. So I think anyone who's doing a CTV outside of LinkedIn, if you're in B2B, consider moving those dollars into LinkedIn.
Got it. Yeah. So, what's one best practice advice that you think would die soon?
Yeah, I think for a long time, people have assumed that if your goal is to get impressions, to get reach, that you should pay by the impression. And if your
Hmm.
goal is to get traffic, you should pay by the click. And what I've found for a long time on LinkedIn is that it doesn't matter what your objective is. If your objective is to get the most of what you want for the least amount of money, there are optimizations you can do. And so a lot of times, for instance, I won't use LinkedIn's objective that's called brand awareness. That's where they assume you go to this when you want awareness, but I actually get cheaper awareness, lower CPMs and higher engagement rates and cheaper retargeting audiences built by running some of those ads in the website visits objective. So if I have to say what is the bad advice that I guess previous advice that people held on to that are just getting discredited, I think it's use the objective that matches with what your objective is, because there's better ways to do it usually.
Got it. Great. That's a great one actually. What do you think is one really irrelevant metric that's there on LinkedIn Ads Manager right now?
This is hard to say. Okay, so frequency is the metric that I would point to here. A
Mm.
lot of clients will point to a frequency number and they'll say, when it's over a certain amount, we must not be successful anymore, and we probably need to change things up.
Creative.
And what I find is the frequency number, although we do like it, we use it, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Instead, I like looking at click-through rate over time and engagement
Mm.
rate over time. And if you
Okay.
draw this on a graph, you see over time, as soon as your click-through rate starts to drop off or your engagement rate starts to drop off, I don't care if your frequency says 1 or 1,000. That's when your ads are no longer performing, and that's when you need to
Sure.
change things. So
Okay.
less reliance on frequency for sure.
Frequency. Got it. One advice to your 2014 self, the day you started B2Link.
You know what? I wouldn't give myself advice at all.
You
I
don't?
made a
Okay.
lot of mistakes along the way, but I'm really glad I made them, and because I learned things and I turned out exactly where I wanted to turn out. So
Wow. Wow.
I would let myself just keep working. Maybe just give myself like a don't worry, man. Keep working. Don't get discouraged. You're gonna do great.
That's great. That's lovely. Last question before I let you go. Can you recommend anyone to be on the podcast? Who would you think would be great to appear in this podcast down the line?
Ooh, I have so many. I tend to keep friends around who are deep specialists in what they do. One is a specialist in conversion rate optimization. His name's Chris
Mm.
Daly, and I'm happy to give you his email, make an introduction,
Yep.
whatever.
Sure.
Another is Corey Henke, and he's a
Hmm.
deep specialist in video advertising across all different channels and
Sure.
absolutely brilliant. And if there's any specific niches that you'd love to have someone on, let me know, and I'm more than happy to tell you if I know
Yeah.
someone who's great.
Anyone in performance marketing, especially on Google, Meta, LinkedIn, would do.
Perfect. Okay, yeah. Let me introduce you to Corey Henke and Chris Daly,
Great. Sure.
and
That's
they're
great.
great guys.
Yeah, sure. I mean, of course, there should be. Thanks a lot, AJ. Thanks for your time so far. And I think the conversation came up really well. I really enjoyed the
Totally.
conversation. Yeah. And thanks again, and happy to have you again later in time.
Wonderful. Well, I'm excited to see Hawky, and I'm excited to see what you guys are doing. This is gonna be great.
Thanks a lot, AJ. Thanks for your time.
All
See you.
right.
Bye.
Thanks, Surrender. See ya.
Thank you.